Hey, it's that card girl, and today we're going to be taking a look at the One Piece card game's highly anticipated, highly sought after EB-03, One Piece Heroines Edition. Now, the back of the box lets you know that there's 71 plus 4 different types of cards, although I think that that's a bit misleading because the 4 cards are the Dawn cards, but technically there's 8 different Dawns. Oh, and if you noticed, I did decide to give Edgar a bit of a break this box and used my fancy scissors because I figured it was only fitting for the heroines. Since this is the heroine set, Hans decided to go ahead and let me open the whole box all by myself. But he did agree to go ahead and set it up into what I call display mode for me because I really dislike doing that. Thanks again, Hans. Now, let's go ahead and get these girls all show ready. Maybe move them a little bit more to the left. Perfect. Now, I do want to take a second to point out that the top of the box and the pack art itself features Uta, Nami, Boa, and Nico on it, and the 4 of them happen to make up the 4 different designs of Dawn cards for this set. And it might have been after opening the entire box that I figured that one out. Our first card of the box is what I think is one of my favorite common cards from the set. Now, like always, we're going to start off going a bit slower through the cards so we can appreciate the new art and the cards themselves since this is a new set. And I do want to go ahead and remind you, if you haven't already, make sure that you're entered into our channel's 1-year anniversary giveaway. We're going to be giving away something for each of the TCGs that we cover. And for One Piece, we're giving away 2 Starter Deck 26, which is the purple-black Luffy leader. And the starter decks are, of course, each going to have their pack of OP11 in them. And the giveaway is going to be subscriber only. Entries close on the 31st of this month, March, and we're going to be announcing our winner on April 1st, 2026. So follow the link down in the description to enter the form, or you can check out our post tab if you'd rather get to it that way. The post tab and the giveaway form itself have all the details that you need to know about the giveaway, but I've hit most of the basics. Okay guys, they've either changed what color the back of the Dawn cards are, or we have a leader in the back of the pack. Knowing that that leader is way back there really tests my patience and also helps build up anticipation because we're still at the start of this box, so we're going a bit slower through the cards still, even though I really want to see this last card. And yep, that is the alt art Nefeltari Vivi. This leader card is absolutely stunning in person. That is a great first hit for this box. Hans and I have pulled 2 mangas together, and never once until now have we pulled an alt leader. Hey, it's the first SR of our box, Vinsmoke Reju. Now, I will go ahead and give the warning that I give a lot of times whenever I end up saying a lot of One Piece character names, except it's going to be a little bit different. Hans and I, before we started playing One Piece, had never watched any One Piece, and Hans still hasn't. I, however, have started very slowly watching One Piece. I'm only on one of the first few episodes, but hey guys, that's a few episodes more than I'd watched before. We'll get there, slowly but surely. Ooh, the SR Nami. Here's your reminder that we put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays with shorts on Sundays. We focus mainly on One Piece, Pokemon, Gundam, Lorcana, and now Magic the Gathering. Make sure you're following us over on Instagram if you haven't already at thatcardgirl.tcg. There's a link for it down in the description. And speaking of links in the description, there's a link to our Discord channel as well. Our second big hit of the box, the Alt Art Boa Hancock, and this card is so cool. I absolutely love how they did the holo on the hearts in the card. Now, this set is called the Heroines Edition, and it features the heroines of One Piece. And I wanted to take a moment because I figured that this was more than an appropriate video to talk about being a woman in the card game space, at least my experience of it. Now, you've probably heard a bit about the story of how Hans and I were trying to learn to play One Piece when we first started getting back into TCGs, before we had even conceptualized the channel. We went to a card shop that no longer exists, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, Hans went to the shop and was trying to learn how to play, except they only gave him the absolute least amount of help and pretty much told him to go to YouTube to learn how to play and how to build a deck. And YouTube is great and everything, but when you don't even really understand what a lot of the terminology on the cards is saying, watching a deck building video is really complicated because everybody just assumes you're wanting to build a deck because you know how to play the game. Oh look, it's the Koala SR. We didn't want to assume that you were already going to know all of the terminology that was on the cards. We wanted to make our videos beginner friendly. We wanted to make them for people like us. We wanted to make the videos that we were hoping to find whenever we searched YouTube. Now, me talking about why we made our channel and everything like that, that's not where I was trying to get this story to go. What I was wanting to get to, what I haven't really talked about before, was my experience with that card shop. Because Hans went in as a man and tried to get help, and they weren't really that helpful. It's the Perona SR. But you know what he did that I didn't? He made it into the shop. Because I went to go one day to this card shop because he'd been talking about it and it seemed like it'd be pretty cool inside, and I hadn't been into a local card shop in I don't even know how long. And so I knew their hours because Hans had been before, and I parked in their parking lot and I started walking up to the shop, and they turned their open sign off. So I was like, okay, maybe I got the times wrong and maybe they are closed, or maybe something happened and they had to close early. So I went ahead, turned around, and got back into the car, and I was like, well, I'll just try again tomorrow and make sure to show up a little earlier. And when I put my car in reverse, they turned their open sign back on. Now, like I said, this card shop has closed since then, and it was for more reasons than just that. Most of the card shops that we went to have been absolutely great. I mean, Games at the Vault is absolutely phenomenal, and quite honestly, Hans and I are a bit glad that we got treated the way we did at the card shop that no longer exists. Because if we hadn't had that experience, we wouldn't have come up with this channel. Oh my gosh, I just almost went right past that Dawn. Look at this gorgeous Uta Dawn. If we had not have had the experience that we did, we wouldn't have this channel, and we also probably wouldn't have met all the people at Games of the Vault that are really phenomenal and have really made our TCG adventure fantastic. And, you know, there's so many other card shops that we've been to that are just great. But there has been a time or two where Hans and I went to check out a new shop whenever we were out and about, and we walked in, both with things that we wanted to get, and the person who worked there immediately addressed Hans, welcomed him in, asked what he was looking for, and they treated me just like somebody who was there with someone and was not a potential customer. And so, to be honest, most of the times whenever Hans and I are going to check out a new shop, he goes in the first time, and if they're a cool shop and we decide to go back, I'll go in the second time. And 9 times out of 10, they are fantastic and they're great and they treat me like a customer. But sometimes they don't. And, you know, I really feel like that is not just my experience. Ooh, the secret rare Uta. Maybe the fact that I almost missed being able to call that out is a sign that I spent entirely too long yapping about my experience in the TCG space. So maybe, just maybe, I should be done talking about this that you really didn't even ask for me to tell you about. But this was just something that I really kind of wanted to get off my chest, and I thought the set celebrating the women of the One Piece card game might be the appropriate place to talk about being a woman in a card game space. The Nico Robin SR. We are almost done opening this box up. There's 4 packs left, so I think that it's about time that we got the box out of the way. And you know what? I think that I'm going to go ahead and address something else that I've been wanting to say for a little bit, but haven't had a chance to. This channel is where 2 people with bad hands open cards. And I kind of want to talk about my bad hands. So, I don't know if you can tell, but my hands are shaking. And quite honestly, when I'm recording, I get really self-conscious about how much my hands shake. And I really hope that y'all don't notice. But opening an entire box of cards really tires my hands out, and I feel like the longer that I've gone on, the more my hands have shaken. And I also am getting way clumsier with my hands, and I've bumped the cameras, and I just want to take a moment to talk about my bad hands. We're going to address the elephant in the room. So, I have had surgery on each of my hands, and on top of that, I have carpal tunnel in both of my hands. One of the surgeries that I've had was on my right hand, and it was to try to fix my carpal tunnel. And all it did was give me arthritis on top of my carpal tunnel. And my left hand, if you've ever taken a close look and you've noticed my left index finger, besides my hand shaking, my left index finger is something that I'm a bit insecure about. It also is one of the reasons why I open packs different than a lot of people do. Let's go ahead and take a second to appreciate our second Dawn of the box, the Nico Robin Dawn. About 15 years ago, I had an unfortunate accident with a pocket knife. Despite having grown up being taught knife safety, I was trying to open up one of those packages that you need like a lightsaber to open up, and the pocket knife slipped and I cut my left index finger all the way down to the bone. Now, luckily for me, I did not lose my finger, but I did lose feeling in half of my finger and I cannot straighten it entirely. But it also makes it to where it's really hard for me to open packs sometimes, and you know, I've just learned to accept that. And if you're still here, you've kind of learned to accept it too. Now, I have talked entirely too long because, as you can see, I've already finished opening up the pack, and I didn't even get to acknowledge the SR TCG in the last pack. We actually had some last pack magic, and I missed it because I was too busy rambling. So, like, comment, subscribe, and tell that person who talks entirely too much in your life about us. That card girl out!